Nearly 1,500 new students started their ELN experience only 2 weeks ago, but the rush of move-in, convocation, and orientation might be dying down just a little bit. And as they settle into their college life, some could be missing a little piece of home. Our Jenny Hook shares how new students are checking in with mom and dad.
The sound of parents checking in with their college student has changed from this to this.
I was just thinking about calling you or texting you and seeing how you were doing.
Clark arrived at ELN a little earlier than most first-year students. After her parents left, Clark knew she wanted to find a dynamic way to stay connected.
My favorite thing is like FaceTiming them, because they'll sit on the couch and it's like my mom, my dad, and my sister will get in on the couch.
Her parents, Jenny and Brian, agreed video chatting helps fight that empty nest feeling.
I wanted to see her face all week this week. It was hard.
Clark knows getting used to life at college will take some time.
It's just a huge process. It's not a one-night thing where you can finally let go of your parents and become independent.
Clark's parents will make a visit to ELN during Family Weekend in September. Until then, they plan to keep in touch the best way they know how.
How's it going?
Good.
Through video calls home. Jenny Hook, ELN Local News.
Jennifer Brigman is here in the studio with us to continue the conversation about leaving home for the first time and the anxiety that often comes with it. She's a licensed counselor at ELN and works with students during periods of adjustment and other life changes. So thank you so much for coming to be with us today. Now, clearly there's a lot of forms of homesickness and even more ways to deal with it. But at the root of all homesickness, what is it?
Well, it's different for everyone, but in general, it's a mixture of a bunch of things. It's grief, anxiety, and culture shock. So as far as grief, grieving home, grieving what's comfortable, grieving family, grieving friends, grieving the loss of just what makes home home, and trying to recreate that in a new environment. And of course, the anxiety is fear. So fear of not being able to do that, fear of ELN will never feel comfortable, ELN will never feel like home to me. I will never have the close connections with friends that I had at home. And then the culture shock of coming here and being an autonomous person for the first time, really making your own decisions, going to bed when you want, eating what you want when you want, all of that. And it's a very transitional thing, and it can be a huge event.
Understandable why students would feel that way. And we actually have one student who spoke to us about how much communication she has with her own family.
I wake up to a text every morning. She's like, how are you today? Like, what's going on? Like, what classes do you have? And I'm like, or she'll like tell me about stuff that's going on campus.
Now, I can actually relate to that very well because I am in almost constant communication with my family, which might be a little bit too much, but what's a healthy level of communications for students in the 20-something age range to keep with their parents?
Well, I think that also depends. It depends on family dynamics. But like you said, it can be too much because if you keep that connection too secure, then it prevents you from making those connections here. So I think a good balance is always good.
And I am really excited to have you here today because I really was homesick when I first came to ELN. And what I found is that it's almost taboo to talk about. Students are kind of embarrassed to say that they're homesick. You feel like you're supposed to be an adult, you're not supposed to be homesick. Does that make it much more difficult to deal with the homesickness, the taboo nature of the topic?
It does because, like you said, no one wants to admit that they're having trouble transitioning and they don't know where to go. I think students do a really good job of pretending like everything's great. So new students coming in, looking at other students who look like they're just transitioning perfectly, are even that much more anxious to talk about it and don't know where to go. So that's where counseling services steps in and kind of bridges that gap.
That's what I was going to say. If any student who's listening happens to be feeling this homesickness, you can contact counseling services on campus and combat that homesickness and really make the most of your ELN experience. So thank you so much for coming to join us.